and welcome back to another episode of Arts Respond on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. I'm your host, Lucy Gellman, and as always, Arts Respond is a collaboration between the Arts Council of Greater New Haven and WNHH Community Radio. Today, I am here with composer Huang Ruo, Perry So, and Jennifer Newman, respectively of talented composer, artistic director of the New Haven Symphony Orchestra, and associate artistic director at the Yale Schwartzman Center. And we are talking about many things, but especially the City of Floating Sounds, an immersive musical experience that celebrates New Haven's rich history and culture. It's going to sound like summer, y'all. I'm really excited. And it is coming to New Haven, to the New Haven Green, which is the literal center of the city, one of the earliest parts of what we now recognize as New Haven. This Saturday, June 21st at 7 p.m. But before that, it is sort of this immersive experience throughout the city. And so, Huang Ruo, I'm going to jump to you first and just ask if you can contextualize a little bit about what City of Floating Sounds is for folks who maybe have not heard about this composition before.
Sure. And first of all, great to be with you and your audience and listeners, Lucy. City of Floating Sounds, it came with a concept that I was watching everybody in the subway, or in the common place. Everyone is on their mobile phone, talking or putting on headset, listening to music. So I was just thinking, having mobile phone is great, but they actually isolated us. How could I turn that into a real communication tool to have people to share? So City of Floating Sound, what I call is a citywide immersive interactive symphony, was born out of that cradle of thoughts, of what if. So basically, it has two parts. And for our New Haven premiere, we will start at 6 p.m. We will have multiple locations, and I believe the event and also the app, everything is free to download and attend. So our attendees could choose any location to gather at 6 p.m. in New Haven. And exactly at 6 p.m., a map will pop up as a virtual interactive map. So you could see where you are, and you could see the green where you are heading to, walking to. And the mobile phone itself will also play music from the symphony City of Floating Sounds. There are 13 tracks, so each person will get randomly assigned a track. Could be a trombone, could be a violin, could be a flute, could be a tuba, and come together to let the music to be shared, and then a virtual and live symphony, a kinetic symphony actually is created by participants with their mobile phone playing our music, and each person becomes a member of the orchestra, and we could have hundreds of people all playing this piece together and walking together. And through the walking, through the movements, a symphony is created from different directions, different locations of the city, and coming together to the green. And then the second part of the piece is for people to hear the piece performed live by the New Haven Symphony, and with Perry conducting. So it is a work that meant to bring people from different different culture, background, different identity, all different, and into one celebration together to celebrate who we are and the place we all live in. So it is a celebration in that sense.
I really love that. And Perry So, music director at the New Haven Symphony Orchestra. I'm sorry, I misidentified you as artistic director. And that's just because music director feels like too small to talk about what you've done, the work you've done in the past year. But I want to bring you in and talk about this within the context of a larger concert that will be sort of blessing the New Haven Green this Saturday, the 21st at 7 p.m., and also includes music from Aaron Copland and Rossini and Helen Hagen, who New Haven is so proud to call sort of a daughter of the city. She was born elsewhere, but spent most of her life in New Haven, and really made history here. And then, of course, Gershwin and Arturo Marquez, and you're bringing in students from Yale Music and Schools. So this is a wonderful sort of sampling of a lot of different things that make New Haven this beautiful, diverse, and polyphonic city, literally, that it is. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about that program.
Absolutely. And Lucy, thank you so much for covering this wonderful event. I just want to tell a little story of how um, this idea to bring it to New Haven came about, which is that Jennifer and I were having coffee, and Jennifer said, I was just experiencing this wonderful interactive multimedia musical experience in New York, and it's a piece by this great composer Huang Ro, and I was like, oh my goodness, we've been trying to get Huang Ro to New Haven for such a long time, and so the serendipity of this wonderful artistic community that we have in New Haven. And where we're all kind of on the same wavelength about trying to do these exciting projects together. So I'm so grateful to Jennifer and to the Yo Schwartzman Center for really being the initiative behind this wonderful idea. And as your audiences might know, the New Haven Symphony has been playing traditionally a concert on the green every summer, usually kind of around this late June period. And since I became music director, I've been trying to make this kind of the central locus of our work in bringing together different communities and showing the wonderful rich tapestry of musical culture that New Haven is so rightly famous and beloved for. And so this really is kind of one huge step in the direction of that vision, where we're not simply stitching together these wonderful voices on the green, but we're literally creating these pathways from different musical neighborhoods of New Haven that feed into this concert on the green. And Lucy, you're so right to put the focus, the central spotlight on Helen Hagen, who is really one of the greatest musicians who have lived in New Haven, born and educated. Um, and we're playing the New Haven Symphony for this third time, really, in kind of modern history. I mean, after her piano concerto was premiered in the 19 teens, in the actually in Wolsey Hall by the New Haven Symphony, the piece was forgotten. This wonderful piano concerto in C minor, which has so many echoes of the great piano concertos of the past, Grieg and Rachmaninoff. This piece was entirely forgotten, and only in the last 6 or 7 years did both the Yale School of Music and the New Haven Symphony embark on a journey of recovering this piece from the archives. The original orchestration had been lost, so we had to commission orchestrators to work on this piece to kind of recreate what it might have sounded like with the full orchestra, and then of course just to find pianists to learn this piece, and we're so delighted that actually the pianist who played the very first performance, the first modern performance, as it were, Samantha Ege, a British pianist, is going to be able to join us on the green. So this is going to form the centerpiece of the concert, this 12, 13-minute piano concerto, which for me represents so much of what is wonderful about New Haven musical culture, that really at that early time, New Haven musical culture had moments of great inclusivity, and where we were really speaking to the rich diversity of our city, and that history has been forgotten and waylaid and kind of turned back upon so many times. And hopefully, with every time that we try to recover this music and try to bring it back into the spotlight, we get closer and closer to this place where this music really becomes a central part of our repertoire. As so many of the other pieces that we're playing on that concert are, Copland and Gershwin are household names, and there's absolutely no reason that Helen Hagen shouldn't be one. And so this is really part of the work that we're trying to do, kind of rediscovering and putting together kind of for me, actually, a truer history of American music, where
Yeah.
some of these voices that have been so vital to the history of our musical history in this country are again placed at the center. And so one of the wonderful little details that we've been able to build into this whole journey is that on Dixwell Avenue, where the Wendy's now stands, is the was formerly Helen Hagen's home, where
Wow.
where she was born
Oh, that's
and where she
amazing.
grew up, exactly. And so one of these walking journeys will take us through the Wendy's parking lot in remembrance and in celebration of Helen Hagen.
And I want to ask you, I know that you have to jet, so if you have to go, just say the word.
Sure.
You know, I want to ask you, I think this is always programming music that looks and sounds like New Haven and also sort of dips into the deep canon of music history, I think has always been important to you. And I would say increasingly important to the New Haven Symphony Orchestra, especially in like the past 5 years, credit where it's due. But is there something, especially when you're talking about this reclamation of New Haven history, and I can't help but think about the fact that this is also happening on the Green, which of course
Yes.
is a colonial burial ground, right? There are still bodies under where you're going to be sitting, so I hope no one's freaked out by that. But it's also unceded Quinnipiac and Wappinger land, and which is something that I think we just don't talk about that often.
Yes.
And then at the same time, you are also celebrating this history of a Black woman composer who arguably didn't really get her due during her lifetime, and bringing New Haven the music of Arturo Marquez, who is a Mexican composer with whom some New Haveners may be familiar, but some may not. And, you know, Perry, I think this work has always been important to you, but we are living in a moment where there are people in this country who I think are trying to silence voices that are talking about um, the histories of migration, both forced and voluntary, that make America and a city like New Haven what it is. So I'm wondering if this sort of has taken on a deeper meaning to you as you've gotten closer to the concert.
Absolutely. I view this through two lenses. First of all, kind of just the purely musical hat is that great music is great music, regardless of where it comes from, regardless of, of race, of religion, of culture. So that's really, to boil it all down, into kind of just one sentence, what we do is we celebrate great music. And but of course, life is never so simple and never so unitary, right? And you bring up so many absolutely vital points about the work that we've been doing over the past half a decade, and not just us, but so many organizations around the country, to reclaim the forgotten canons, to remind not just our audiences but ourselves that there are so many forgotten musical voices from whom we can learn, who really can inspire us, even from the deep past. And this, it's building a program that stitches all of that together is really a great challenge, but a wonderful challenge. And I just like to add that we're beginning, well, before the concert begins and even before the walking tours begin, the Juneteenth celebration will be on the Upper Green. And that was something that
Yes.
in last year's concert, the procession from the Juneteenth commemoration came from the Upper Green down to the Lower Green to kind of symbolically bring those voices into this musical celebration that we are creating at later in the day, and to show that in a way, hope, this is my deepest, most fervent hope, that we're all connected and unified by our love for music, and that through music we can tell these stories that perhaps in other languages, in other genres, may be more difficult to tell. Maybe music allows us, because it kind of, I believe it goes directly to emotion and directly to our souls, that we can close our eyes and we can forget some of the divisiveness that we are being kind of encouraged and is being stoked at this moment, which doesn't need to exist. And bringing all these voices into the same space and saying that we're all singing together and we're all singing with each other, is maybe a step, a tiny step at that, but hopefully a step in the direction of more of us realizing that we are all united by our love for the for the wonderful things in our community and the wonderful things in our culture that we share. Um, I mean, another thing that we are so blessed to have is we will have an invocation at the beginning of the concert by Indigenous voices, and this is something that we've really been. I mean, we treasure the opportunity to be able to do this, and it's so much, I think, a part of what the future of music should look like. And hopefully, even in these dark times, we can still take small steps in this direction.
Yes, all of the above. And I just want to acknowledge for folks who are listening that I know you have to hop off soon. So whenever you do, that's okay. And just Perry So, music director at the New Haven Symphony Orchestra, we're so grateful for you. Like, thank you for just being in our city.
Well,
It's yeah, you make it better because you're here.
thank you, Lucy. I mean, we're so blessed to be in a community where creators and writers and we're all kind of trying to do right by each other and by our history and by our communities, and it's wonderful to be part of this community.
I think that's true. I'm also just in awe that the symphony, probably working with multiple partners, and I'm going to bring in Jennifer Newman, the Associate Artistic Director at the Yale Schwartzman Center, was able to get the proprietors of the New Haven Green to sign off on a spoken land acknowledgement. That just makes me really, really happy. It has been a point of tension. I'm not afraid to talk about that in the past in this city. And I think that we need to talk about openly about some things that have been difficult as we're acknowledging the full breadth of history in New Haven, including some of that painful history. Jennifer Newman, I want to bring you in and ask about, first your relationship to this piece, City of Floating Sounds, and also what you are hoping from this concert, and of course what the Schwartzman Center is hoping as a partner that has talked about breaking down those artistic and cultural walls between town and gown. And that's hard because you're working with hundreds of years of history, right?
Hi, yes, thank you so much, Lucy, for that question. And it's really my biggest privilege and honor to be in this conversation with Wong and Perry, and also to be able to work together collaboratively to bring City of Floating Sounds to New Haven. To your question, yes, I think what is actually the special thing about this proposal of a Schwartzman Center, which is looking at reimagining what a commons is and can be, is the opportunity to serve as a portal, utilizing the arts, utilizing performing arts, utilizing visual arts, to serve as a portal between the city and the university. The Schwarzman Center sits at the corner of Grove and College. And so for all intents and purposes is sort of at the center of campus, and also in a very, I won't say center of New Haven, but it's a highly trafficked corner intersection and very close to the green. So to sort of situate on that area of the land, but also to be able to put the creative and performing arts at the center, at that intersection also, which to Perry's recent point, which is that the performing arts, whether it be dance, whether it be music, whether it be visual arts, painting, photography, or film, sound, installations, what it does is it opens up a different part of our brains. It opens up a different part of our intellects, a different part of, Perry used the word souls. And so it allows a connection in a way that's beyond words or beyond the rational mind. And so I would say that is at some point, it is really at the heart of the mission of the Schwarzman Center, to serve the university and the student body, the university life, but also adding and contributing to the life of the city in which it exists, which is the city of New Haven and beyond.
And I'm wondering if you can, and Huang, feel free to hop in here. If you can also talk about, how you're thinking of experiencing this piece within experiencing New Haven. So we live in a very small city, comparatively speaking. New Haven is 18.7 square miles. It has something like 135,000 people. So we're not talking about a New York City. We're not talking about a London or, I love New Haven. I think it punches way above its weight, culturally speaking. But but one of the things I've discovered is when you live here, Jennifer, you create a personal geography of the city, and you also find these little gems. Like, I'm so glad that Perry mentioned that factoid about the Wendy's.
Yeah.
That it's actually Helen Hagen's old home.
Yeah.
And I hope that if there isn't already a historical marker, like, we can move some powers that be and make a historical marker there, right?
It would be incredible. Yeah.
It would be wonderful because I think especially for the folks who frequent it, like, there is some young musician who is going to walk into that Wendy's, and if they knew the history of this young, very bright woman who was an organist at Dixwell United Congregational Church, who made history when she entered Yale University, like, and then who was buried for a long time in an unmarked grave.
Yeah.
I think if they thought, oh, this was happening centuries before I was on this earth, it changes the narrative. We know that, right? And we know that that's why history has been painted over and whitewashed in this country, because when those histories are erased, people lose power. And so I'm wondering what your sort of shifting relationship with the city is as you're about to experience this piece.
Yeah. So what I found, you're right. It's a small town that is so incredibly rich and diverse, and also has people in it that love the arts. That is the one thing that I just can't say enough about New Haven, is just the incredible support and array of arts and art making and art supporters that exist in this, like you said, a small town. So for me, what's so fascinating about experiencing the City of Floating Sounds in the city is that the 6 different routes that one can choose from, each one has its own history embedded in it. And that I'm using the word meander because I think meandering allows you to sort of get out of routine. And as you take one of these meandering routes and listen to music, a certain part of your brain is turned off, that kind of TaskRabbit brain, I call it. And then this other part, the poetic part, opens up. And so you're able to sort of take in the history, you take in the rhythm of the city and how it shifts depending on where you are. And you get to experience it in a way that uplifts, like you said, the different contours, the different histories, the different stories that are embedded in it, the different emotions and the feelings that are in it. So you can choose, the Dixwell route, and you can choose the East Rock route that takes you through Audubon Arts District, or you can choose the Wooster Square, or even choose the one that starts at Union Station, which has its own unique history. And to your point about historical markers, what also that does is it builds a pride in the history, like, oh, that exists. And to your point, actually, Helen Hagen, her photo is now up in an exhibition in the Schwarzman Center. So if you're choosing one of these routes that goes through the Schwarzman Center, you actually have the opportunity to actually see the installation of Black Lives at Yale, which is includes her photograph as a student. You know, you actually get to see who she is as well, amongst other students, faculty, staff, people that worked at Yale, whose stories were not shared prior to the exhibition that was at the New Haven Museum. So this tour, this walking tour of the city, has so many gems in it, and including, you know, unearthing the names and faces of people that have lived and breathed and made New Haven what it is.
Mhm. And I thank you, Jennifer. First of all, I personally really looking forward to join the tour. To, you know, every city is different, and Lucy, you are correct. But I think that is what makes this piece also unique. Is we tailor designed specifically for each city when we come to perform. And also on the mobile phone app, I believe there will be our tech designer will put in informations on each route. So when people are walking, sharing music, listening, you could also click on the information. When you see there's an information logo, and then it will pop up to tell you what that place is, what's the history, and things like that. I think each city obviously is different, and New Haven has such a rich history. Also, has so many stories needs to be told with so many landmarks, and I think that it is unique to New Haven. And I also look forward to seeing those being shared and being learned by our audience and participants as well. Um, Also, just to mention that, you know, just the act of coming together to share something, I think that is a universal uh, human activity uh, throughout from the beginning of mankind and up until now. And of course, now or recently, a lot of us forget about this, you know, how to live peacefully and how to share love and how to share what we treasure and how to come together to do things together. So I think that is just a, you know, a reminder of we need to communicate. We should not isolate. We need to communicate. We need to interact, and we need to create something together for the common good. And another thing is we bring sound, we bring music, we bring awareness to the city, and people could listen to the music, and meanwhile they listen to the traffic, they listen to the nature, they listen to each other's breathing, they see each other, they suddenly recognize, oh, uh, there are so many people living in our community who I might not interact with or might not work together with, or I never met before. So this is a chance for people to come together to peacefully joining hands to do something together. So that to me also is something I really look forward to participate this weekend, this Saturday.
Oh, I really love that. I also want to ask about the specific routes. Jennifer, is that something that you found yourself working on with Huang, with the composer? Because I love that depending on the route you take, you go past the train station, which means you're also looking at kind of like the shell of Church Street South, which was a housing project that was sort of drenched in New Haven history until it was demolished a few years ago. But also you're going by things like Million Asian Market, which is such an important space within our community to so many people who have both passed through New Haven and still live in New Haven. You're going by the Pride Center. It's Pride Month. I mean, it's Pride Month every month at the Pride Center, but it's great. And
Right.
Bark and Vine, which is this great queer-owned business. Cedar Park, which is this amazing, pretty new, just like activation of civic space that centers and celebrates Black brewers and Black creatives. Or you can go on a route and go by like St. Stan's Church, which has a very active role in the history of actually Polish immigration and Polish community in New Haven. You know, the Little Theater, which has sort of changed hands so many times. There is a pizza route. We're not going to talk about it because I have feelings about our devotion toward pizza, and none of them are good. And then, of course, the music route, which is so wonderful, and really lifts up and celebrates the history of Helen Hagen. Jennifer, is this something that you got to sort of ideate around?
Thank you so much for that question, because what it does is it allows me to give a huge shout out to one of our partners who is not in this interview, which
Right.
is the International Festival of Arts and Ideas. We could
Oh,
not have done it without them saying yes. They are taking on the a major portion of producing this City of Floating Sounds, both part one and part two, part one being the city tours and part two being the production on the green. So Kelsey Carbone and I, as well as a cadre of collaborators from both New Haven Symphony Orchestra and the City and International Festival of Arts and Ideas, we met I would say once a week for the last couple of months. And the Roots idea, while that is a huge part of the project, having it be specific to New Haven took a whole Zoom room full of people to unearth those ideas. And then we would walk the routes and talk about the routes. We've shared ideas and we've shared histories to really unearth the things that this group of collaborators wanted to make sure got into the tour. Arts and Ideas is celebrating its 30th anniversary. It's Pearl route, as you were starting to allude, which is the music route, which is 30th anniversary, the Pearl anniversary, and which highlights some specific locations of historical and important moments in the history of the festival and some of its programming over the years. So if you choose the Pearl route, you can go back through time and to locate some of those locations that mean so much to Arts and Ideas and to the city.
I'm so excited. I love New Haven history, and so this is just very exciting to me. Huang, I want to bring it back to you and ask, before we were on mic, you said not only am I coming to New Haven, you're in the Bronx, you're joining us from the Bronx right now, but not only am I coming to New Haven, but my kids are coming to New Haven, and they're also going to
right.
experience that. And that's really special.
Yeah.
That's just
And
very, very special. And so tell me about how you're feeling on the cusp of this performance that like has lived out in the world in other iterations, but that you are about to bring to New Haven. Like, what a gift for us.
Well, thank you. And it is a gift to me as well, able for me to share this work with more people. And this work has, although has been performed at Lincoln Center and was at UK, but my two kids has never seen it before. So they heard me talk about it,
Oh
but they never
my
experienced it.
gosh. Oh, that's
Yeah,
really,
so
that makes me so proud
so
and
for
like
them, it's the
excited for
first
them.
time.
Yeah.
Exactly. And my son, who's 11, so he got his first mobile phone last year. So he has a mobile phone. So he actually could use it to participate. And the little one, the younger one, will just listen. But I think more importantly, that speaks to the core of this work uh, is to really to break down barriers between the four walls of the concert hall and also of the barriers of audience and listeners and the performers, because there's some setting is really hard to take children in, with a very serious symphonic performance. You need to be quiet, you need to sit there still, not make any noise, and this is very hard for young children. So there are not too many things we could take our young listeners to, but I do feel this very special concert on the green, and City of Floating Sun is part of it, is a very inviting environment, and of course to hear such diverse program, it will be a great a great experience for not only adults but also for children. So I really look forward to this.
Yeah, and I do want to, I know that Perry So, music director at the New Haven Symphony Orchestra, hopped off, but I do want to shout out the symphony for just in the last couple years, they really have opened their doors to families with young kids. So I have brought my son, who is almost 18 months old, to several performances. And they've also been like, and there's a room where you can breastfeed. I mean, it's amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
But I have seen more and more and more families in the audience, and that's something that I think regardless of whether I was a parent or not, I find very moving.
Yeah.
Not only because it ensures the next generation of listeners. I mean, we need to be talking about, especially with the sort of technological interventions on our lives, how are we going to create the symphonic listeners of the future, right?
Right.
Because without them, this art form dies. So I just wanted to shout out the symphony for that. And I did want to ask you, before we wrap, I feel like within this, you are looking at technology and saying, this isn't specifically something that I love, but it's here. And so, how are we going to utilize it to be a part of this rich musical tradition in which you and I and Jennifer, you have participated really like since birth, right? One of the first things we experience as babies is our parents or guardians sing to us, probably. And so, for you, I feel like you've made a very deliberate choice to say, like, okay, there's this intervention of technology on our lives. I'm going to figure out how to harness it for social good and to do something that is like
Yeah.
intellectually engaging and creates community, as opposed to letting it just further silo us off from each other.
Yeah. Um, and I think the important thing is uh, I personally love technology, so I'm not against to technology. And mobile phone obviously is something I have been using for many, many years. So they are great tools. But I guess my thinking is how to, but everything has two sides, right? So when you are so deep with your device, I seen family also, you have a family, the whole family is sitting in the living room, but each person is on their own device. So they are not talking, they are not interacting with one another. And that to me is sad. And that's the same goes to TV. You see so many people glued to the TV, now glued to the computer, and not really interacting. So, yeah, so how to turn technology into something to different way to communicate, let people to share, to communicate. In this case, to play out the sound out loud. And of course, each phone only has one track. On its own is not too loud, but also that is the lesson there is then if you come together to create a community, then the sound become louder, become richer, become more colorful, become more instruments, become more diverse. Then you are part of something bigger. You are part of something better. So that also is something I see what technology could do as well. If we use it in the right way, it could really enrich and help our life. So I just want to point out the obvious of what mobile phone each person almost has, yeah, almost everyone has it now, could use it for as part of musical performance. And another thing to say is it is truly a theater for the city as well. Now, the reason I say that is, and Jennifer also, can relate, because we both came from the theater background, where in this case, the whole city is the stage. And for people who might not heard of our performance or our walk, did not sign up to, they are, walking on the street, or they are driving, or they are just simply having a coffee. Uh, they are part of our audience. They hear the sound floating around, passing by, and unnoticedly, they already signed up to be our audience because they hear the music. So it is a piece that really doesn't really have too many doors or walls to limit, but actually it's open up to so many people, and each person could participate, and each person could be part of it.
I love that. Um, Before we hop off, Jennifer Newman, I just want to ask you, as you go into this, what are your hopes and dreamy dreams for this evening? Which is not just city, it begins for many people literally as they step off and have this experience where they are engaging in City of Floating Sounds, first through their phones, and then of course when they get to the green, they're hearing it as part of this program. But your hopes and dreamy dreams, like for this program and for the things that maybe will bloom from this program and collaborations with the Schwartzman Center going forward.
Oh, yeah, that's a multi-layered question. So the first thing, I'm hoping for someone who chooses a route, that they choose a route that they may not know, and then so they lean into their curiosity. I hope that people, find something surprising along the way. I do hope that people allow themselves to sort of go with the flow, as they say, listen to the music and they listen to how it changes as they meet up with different people. I'm hoping for surprise connections with other groups that are moving around at a different space and time, and that they start to delight in the way that the sounds change. And I hope that once everyone finds themselves together at the center of the green, that they are meeting someone new, having a conversation with someone new. They get a chance to meet Huang in person, talk to Huang about the composition, and then basically to awaken up wonder and awe and delight and joy, as folks go through this process. That is my biggest hope. I think the next layer of that is just to be able to experience, I'm using air quotes right now, classical music in a refreshing way. It might be someone's first time experiencing classical music. It might be someone else's 100th time, but just to have this different experience with it that might serve as its own portal pathway. And then ultimately, I do believe that, I think I thought this before, but in this moment in time, collaboration is what is the only way forward for any of us, living and breathing and working, and especially those that are making art. That collaboration is the way that we will be able to continue to make new works, to support artists, to see our cities in new ways. It is going to be through collaboration, and that is what is so beautiful about the project that Huang has created. That it does that in so many ways, even for that person who did not sign up but happens to be sitting outdoor at the cafe or pumping their gas, and they experience these floating sounds walking by them. And then also so thankful to New Haven Symphony Orchestra and to the International Festival of Arts and Ideas, for saying yes, to the proprietors of the Green for saying yes. It takes people to say yes in order to do these kinds of projects. And I just hope that everyone is as delighted by it and finds something really thrilling through it.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just want to say it takes more than a village, takes a whole city to create art, to share arts, and for this concert as well. So yeah, I second Jennifer. All this big thanks to every partner who are so believing in what this could become, and to help us to bring this program, this work to New Haven.
Composer Huang Rua, Jennifer Newman, Associate Artistic Director at Yale Schwarzman Center, and Perry So, Music Director at the New Haven Symphony Orchestra, who had to hop off, but Perry, we're super grateful for you. We have been here talking about City of Floating Sounds, which begins through the Schwarzman Center, New Haven Symphony Orchestra, and International Festival of Arts and Ideas at 6 p.m. on Saturday, June 21st, followed by a concert on the New Haven Green at 7 p.m. on June 21st. And if you're listening and you're like, I'm a little confused, let me explain. You're gonna go on Arts and Ideas website, which is artidea.org. You can't get it wrong. And go to their calendar and click on June 21st. And that will take you to a page that explains the routes that you can choose to take through the City of Floating Sounds. All of the routes will lead you to the New Haven Green, which is in the center of the city and was really one of the first 9 squares on which New Haven was founded. And there at 7 p.m., there will be a full concert from the New Haven Symphony Orchestra that includes not only City of Floating Sounds, but some wonderful works from the symphony's repertoire, some new works, and of course an homage to Helen Hagen, who I think like we can't give enough flowers to. So I'm really excited about this, just hearing about this collaboration. I hope that y'all out in the Zoom universe or the listener universe are also excited about this on Saturday, the 21st. Join all these wonderful partners, come down to the New Haven Green, experience this. You won't be sorry you did. And I do, Jennifer, I agree with you. I think the artists are the arts are going to get us through this. They already are. And so, yeah, thank you both so much.
Thank you so much,
Lucy.
Lucy.
Take care, and I will see you on Saturday.
Looking forward. Yeah.
See you
Yes.
Saturday.
Can't wait to
See
see you,
soon.
Jennifer, as
Yeah,
well.
looking forward to seeing you on.
We'll
Take care.
celebrate. Bye bye.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.